Hey guys, welcome to my newest video for today. I know it's been a while, but I am back in my room and my room's slowly starting to come together. And as you can see behind me, I have all of my movies and my TV shows, and I love how it's turned out. There will be a complete collection overview. I don't know when. I'm still putting together the last touches to it. There's still a few movies and TV shows that have been put in other boxes and I haven't found them yet, so it's not quite complete, but the bulk of the collection is like behind me. Some had to go into the cupboard because I ran out of space. I know, I got all these new shelves and I still managed to run out of space, and it was kind of eye-opening when I started to put everything onto my shelf and basically came to the conclusion I really need to stop buying movies and TV shows, which I really should have come to this conclusion a long time ago. But anyway, so for at least the rest of the year, I'm not going to be buying any more movies and TV shows. I'm on a strict no-buy because I actually really need to get into watching a lot of these films and films and TV shows, and that sort of brings me to this today's video, where I actually thought it would be kind of fun where I go through all the movies that I've been watching out of my collection, same with TV shows. Now, I have attempted this series before. I'm sort of still going through like how I want to do this, because I don't know whether to just do one like overview video and just talk about what I've watched, or do individual reviews. I may do a mix of both because, yeah, as you can see behind me, I have an awful lot, and doing individual reviews will take a while, so that may not be something that happens straight away, but I thought for the time being I would just do sort of like a watching the collection episode 1. So most of these ones that I've watched have actually been first time viewings. The ones that I've bought in the last couple of months before I went on my no-buy. So I have actually watched some of my more newer ones. The only exception I'm making to this is I'm not going to, if I watch a film that's part of a box set, I'm going to wait till all the movies have been watched out of that, and then I'll just talk about the box set then. Because then it just makes it a bit easier if I keep having to pull out a box set and say, oh yeah, I watched this movie out of this set. So that's kind of my plan. I have 13 movies and TV shows. Well, it's a mix of movies and TV shows here to talk about, because a lot of the TV shows were only like one season, or they were a mini series. So, and there's also a bit of a theme, because if you recall from my June update, I sort of went on a bit of a binge buying and bought a lot of Douglas Henschel and Andrew Lee Potts movies and TV shows. So on the plus side, I have actually been watching them. So that's rather than, you know, them sitting on my shelves for 10 years and only getting around to them then. But anyway, I'm just going to stop rambling and get into the video. So starting off, this is one I've talked about quite a few times, and I think it's going to be one that I do an individual review on because I loved it that much. And it's a show called By Any Means. So this is, I've been told it's like Leverage, which I haven't actually seen, so I can't really compare the two, but this was a fantastic 6-episode TV show. It sadly got cancelled, so I don't know if they had plans for it. Well, I think they would have had plans for a second one because it ended on a massive cliffhanger, and I'm really annoyed because I don't think a lot of people watch this show, and yeah, it's that ending just was like, I want more, and this is it. It's been over 10 years. It only came to my attention because Andrew Lee Potts was in it. So, but yes, this was like quite a fun, you know, team who work outside the law to bring criminals to justice. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I binged it in one afternoon. So yeah, got through it very quickly because, yeah, it was very addictive, and yeah, really liked the characters, the story, like the case of the week, and yeah, it was, yeah, a lot of fun. And as I said, really sad this got cancelled, so that's By Any Means. And then I finally decided to check out Xenadu. Now, this was a very interesting movie to watch because I knew it was going to be weird. I'd, heard things. I obviously know the songs from it. This was just one of those musicals that had escaped my attention, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to finally get it and watch it and see what I think. It took a really long time for me to actually get into the story. It was probably about halfway that I really started to enjoy it. So it's not one of my favorite musicals by any means. I'm glad I finally watched it. Yeah, it was sort of a weird one seeing Gene Kelly in this, because I know this was his last movie before he died, but it was an interesting pairing watching him and Olivia Newton-John, I will say that. So, it wasn't bad. I will probably rewatch it in the future, but yes, not one of my favourite musicals. So, Xenadu, and then the next next five all have Douglas Henshall in them. So, first one, movie called Silent Cry. I think I talked about this in my wrap-up video as well for June, and my DVD haul as well. I loved this movie. I never would have checked it out if Douglas Henshall hadn't been in it, so I'm sort of going through actors' filmographies and sort of seeing some of the lesser-known movies. This was fantastic. I know it doesn't have very good ratings, but I really enjoyed this. It was sort of really intense thriller. A mother's baby has gone missing. She's told the baby died, but she knows the baby's still alive. There's a corrupt cop, and she ends up having to go on the run, and she gets caught up with Douglas Henshall's character, who has a bit of a past, and he can't get involved, but he feels sorry for the the main character, so he sort of tags along and gets caught up in all the crazy hijinks that follow from there. And this was really really excellent. It's quite short. It's only an hour and a half, but so much happens in this, and yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite recent discoveries. So it's Silent Cry. And then another film that I really enjoyed, not my typical type of movie, but I watched a French film. Douglas Henshall plays the best friend of one of Hugh Bonneville's character. This was very interesting because this is set in the 90s, so it's even though it was filmed in 2008, but it sort of has a very you almost think it was made in the 90s, just sort of how it was filmed. And Douglas Henshall plays a very different type of character in this. It takes a while to get going. You think, oh yeah, it's when you start to learn more about his character, you think, oh yeah, and then it gets to a point, because it's all about this, this guy's a journalist, and has to interview this French film director he thinks is really pretentious, and yeah, it's sort of, as he's reviewing the guy's work so he can have talking points for the interview, he begins to realise something that Douglas Henshall's character did, and it's not a good thing either. So when that realisation happens, you just sort of think, whoa. But yeah, it was a very different kind of, it's I wouldn't say dark comedy, but it's sort of the humour is on the more of the bleak side, but it's very British, and it's one I did actually quite enjoy as well. So it's a French film. And then going on to something completely different, I watched Salvation. Douglas Henshall plays the sheriff in this. It's obviously it's a Western. This has got an excellent cast. You've got Mads Mikkelsen, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, can't pronounce his name there, Jonathan Pryce, and Eva Green's in it, even though her role's very weird. She does really well with what she has, but it's sort of something you wouldn't expect Eva Green to play. So that was sort of a bit because her role it's kind of there, but this was another excellent film. You sort of, because you've got this small town, you've got, these outlaws who are terrorizing it. Sheriff's trying to keep the town together, even though this is sort of at the time when oil exploration's getting are quite big, and they want the town for the oil, and Mads Mikkelsen's character is on revenge after his wife and son are killed. So yeah, it's sort of a classic tale of revenge, and I again really love this one. So that's The Salvation. And then I also watched The Strange Case of Sherlock Holmes and Arthur Conan Doyle. Again, Douglas Henshall played Arthur Conan Doyle, and this was a very interesting one as well because it sort of takes place after Arthur Conan Doyle's decided to kill off Sherlock Holmes with Reichenbach Falls. And obviously that caused a lot of controversy. A lot of people really hated Arthur Conan Doyle for that, and he's sort of at a crossroads in his personal and professional life because of that, because he doesn't want to go back to Sherlock Holmes, and it's sort of like he's got a lot going on in his personal life, and he doesn't want to go sort of dredging up the Sherlock Holmes lore again, even though that's what he's like most well known for. And yeah, it just, because he ends up meeting this, because his publishers are like, oh, you can write a memoir or something, and he's like, okay, I'll agree to it, but only if it never gets published. And yeah, it's sort of a very interesting take on that once like the interview starts. So I thought that was done very well, and yeah, because I love anything to do with Sherlock Holmes, so Douglas Henshall playing Arthur Conan Doyle, I was like, yep, going to be all over this. So that is The Strange Case of Sherlock Holmes and Arthur Conan Doyle. And then I have another TV show. This was a mini-series called Collision. This had 5 parts to it. This was very interesting because it all takes place, well, as you can tell from the title, it's called Collision. This takes place around a pile-up on a highway, and there's all these different cast of characters. They've all got different, like, they're all like interconnected with how they, not so much interconnected, but it's like it sort of follows them on after the collision, and they're trying to pick, because Douglas Henshall's character is a DI, and he's trying to he works in like he's on the task force for investigating traffic accidents and that, and so he's sort of tasked with this. He's also going through a lot in his personal life because he was involved in a collision. Like, he was a victim of a drunk driver, and he lost his wife, and his daughter was crippled as a result of that, and he's trying to like come, because he's just coming back from being off with everything that happened, and he's also learned that the person who was responsible for the accident is getting out of jail as well. So top of investigating everything that's happening, he's also got, you know, the guy that destroyed his family's coming out, like getting released from jail. So this was, yeah, very well done, and yeah, you just wanted to keep finding out what was happening because it kept going in all these different directions. The ending was a little out there, I thought, because like I was expecting a little bit more from the ending, but other than that, I did enjoy watching this. So that's Collision. And then I was sort of on a bit of a House on Haunted Hill kick, even though I still need to watch Return to House on Haunted Hill. I haven't done that yet. But I needed to watch the 1999 remake of House on Haunted Hill with Geoffrey Rush. I did like this. I thought it was, like, you could sort of tell where they got the ideas from the original film with Vincent Price, which I love. It's one of my favourite classic horror films. This was a decent remake. I just felt it took quite a while to get going. I really didn't care for anything with the roller coaster scene at the start. That just was like 20 minutes too long, even though it was nice to see James Masters in there. But yeah, I watched this. I will say, yes, I completely understand the appeal of Jeffrey Combs now. There was one scene in this where I was like, I don't think I'm meant to find that attractive at all, but I do. So I don't know what that says about me. But anyway, House on Haunted Hill, I finally watched it. So just need to watch Return to House on Haunted Hill. And then having a bit of a break from the Douglas Henschel movies and TV shows, we have another Angela Potts. Well, I guess this is a mini series rather than a TV show, like an actual TV show, because this has 2 parts in it, and this is one of my favorite new discoveries. I absolutely love this. I loved Angela Potts as the Mad Hatter. It's kind of interesting because he's not actually advertised anywhere in the, like, he's on the cover, like, hello, but he's not advertised in the main cast, even though he's like the second main character. And Tim Curry's in, I mean, I know it's for advertising purposes, like Tim Curry's advertised in the main cast. He's only in it for like 1 scene because he plays oh, what's the character's name? The Cheshire Cat. There we go. I had to think of what the character's was. But yeah, this has, yeah, I really enjoyed this adaptation. It's kind of like a sci-fi, like, retelling of Alice, because Alice ends up getting involved in Wonderland because her then boyfriend, who she finds out has more of a connection to Wonderland than she realizes, and she gets sort of caught up in this political conspiracy. And yeah, and she finds out people from her world have been taken because they thrive off human emotions, and so she's trying to work with Hatter to both find a way back and to also help everyone, because she's also on a quest to find her father who went missing when she was 10 years old. So it's sort of all this this, like, I guess, whimsical plot, and it just all comes together really well, and I love this adaptation, and it's definitely one of my favorites. So it's Alice. And then we go back to Douglas Henschel. I watched 2 movies of his at the end of July, because most of these I watched in June. And then, because I had quite a lot of time off, so I was able to watch quite a bit more, like, movies and TV shows then. I watched this movie called If Only. It goes by a few different names. I think in the US it's called Twice Upon a Yesterday, but it's basically, it has Douglas Henschel, a very young Lena Headey, and Penelope Cruz. So it's, you know, fantastic cast. And this is basically Douglas Henschel sort of at a crossroads in his life. He wants to go back and fix his relationship with Lena Headey's character, because he ended up cheating on her, and he basically thinks, if I can go back and fix that, my life will turn out differently. And we sort of follow how that turns out. So this was a very cute rom-com. It's also, yeah, 90s Douglas Henschel, can't go wrong there. Because yeah, it's yeah, this has some very nice scenes in this as well, I will say that. But I'm glad I finally did actually watch this, because yeah, I don't normally go for rom-coms, but I've actually watched a few of them in this one, even though, well, French film I wouldn't say it's a rom-com, it's like a dark, like, romantic comedy, but yeah, I did really enjoy If Only. And then we get to a film that I thought was rather weird, and that is Orphans. Now, I knew it was going to be weird because it's described as a black comedy, and I know it's like that very dark British humour. And this was, yeah, it was a very weird film. I'm still not sure entirely what I think of it, because like, I watched it and I got to the end and I was like, I don't entirely know what I just watched. I don't know if there was a point to this movie, because this one is sort of, it's following a family after their mother dies, and their dad died some years earlier, and, well, hence the title Orphans. It's basically them dealing with grief in their own ways and getting into all kinds of trouble because it's leading up to the funeral of their mother. And yeah, because I was watching this and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this movie, because Douglas Henschel was very good in it, even if his character was like really weird, because yeah, like I'll just, as an example, like his character gets stabbed at the start of the movie, and rather than go to the hospital, he's like, I can get this under workers' compensation. I just have to hold out till I get to work. And so he spends half the movie bleeding out. It was very bizarre, and I still, as I said, I still don't know what I really think. Like, it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it was definitely a very weird one. So, anyway, that was Orphans. So, and then moving into the two movies that I've actually watched out of my collection in, like, for this month. The first one I watched was Stranded. This is a retelling of Swiss Family Robinson. This is the only version I've actually ever seen of Swiss Family Robinson. I watched this because Andrew Potts plays the older Jacob Robinson in the second part, because it's split into two movies. Like, the first half is like basically sets up that they're on this island. We sort of follow back and forth between the family and Jacob, who gets separated from them and ends up like on a ship where a mutiny happens and they become a pirate ship, basically. So it was a very interesting story, and also the cast in this is fantastic, because this has a pre-Game of Thrones Liam Cunningham, also a pre-House Jesse Spencer. A very young Bonnie Wright plays the daughter at the start, like when she's really young. And yes, it was sort of seeing, like, as, you know, classic survival story, like being stranded on a deserted island, basically, and trying to figure out how to make their own way if they're ever going to get home. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So yeah, so even though, like, because as I said, I watched it for Andrew Lee Potts and he wasn't in it until, like, the second half. But it was definitely weird seeing how young, like, the cast were. And I think this came out in 2003. So, but yes, I'm definitely glad I finally watched this one. So that's Stranded. And then the last movie that I have to talk about in this particular video is, of course, The Meg. Because I rewatched this in preparation for Meg 2, which I will talk about more when I do my, at the cinema. Like, I want to bring back my Tracy Goes to the Movies video where I talk about the films I see at the cinema. So my thoughts will be in that video. But yes, I did rewatch The Meg. It's been a few years since I've seen it, and I really enjoyed this one. It's just a fun, you know, shark film. Like Jason Statham versus a giant shark. So yeah, so this one I did quite like, because I forgot half the, like just, you know, like with all the cast in this, because I was like, I forgot Ruby Rose was in this, because this was like just before she ended up doing Batwoman, or at least Batwoman for the first season. Because yeah, so I kind of forgot that was like in the point where she was in everything, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she was in this. So it was yeah, very interesting sort of going back and rewatching it. But you know, this is just a fun leave your brain at the door type movie. Yeah, it's definitely like one of my favorite, like, shark horror films as well. So yeah, so glad I did actually manage to revisit The Meg. So there you go. So that is everything that I've watched out of my collection for the last few months. As you can see, there was a bit of a theme there, because I've been making my way through Douglas Henschel's and Andrew Lee Potts' film catalogues. So, but yeah, now that I've actually got access to my films again, I should be able to watch a few more of my Blu-rays, especially the ones I haven't seen, because we all know there's quite a few of those that I haven't watched yet. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. As I said, I may do more in-depth reviews for some of these films, or all of them, depending on how I go, but we will see when if I feel like filming all of it, like videos, because I've got quite a few films, like video ideas that I want to film. So Anyway, I'm just going to stop it here. Thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!